Good morning. Is this good? Okay. What was the reoccurring word in that song? Go. Okay, BT and I went, and now we're back. So it's time to give an accounting for our time. It reminds me of this scripture. In Mark, he said to them, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation." And Luke in Acts said, while they were worshiping the Lord and fasting, the Holy Spirit said, "Set apart for me, BT and Lana, Barnabas and Saul, for the work to which I have called them." So after they fasted and prayed, they placed their hands on them and sent them off. On May the 20th, you placed your hands on us and sent us off. So we feel like we are just an extension of the ministry here at Salina Heights. And our choice of methodology is to go with an organization called Let's Start Talking, a worldwide concept of ministry. Everyone, except maybe middle school American students, wants to learn English. And so they have found that that is a drawing tool to attract people coming for free. Hi, Jamie. Coming from all walks of life to a local church under the administration of a missionary there to have free conversational English. You're not teaching them English. They already know a certain amount, and as we found out, some, it's very small, and others are almost fluent. But you spend 50 minutes just reading an excerpt from the New Testament. You read it so they can hear it. They read it to you. You correct their pronunciation. And then you talk about the principles that are in that story. And it's a beautiful, beautiful method of evangelism. As a result of that, BT and I spent 4 weeks, 2 in Italy and 2 in Croatia. And as a combination, we had 204 hours of direct communication of the gospel to the folks there over about 38 different people, roughly. So. Oh, that's nice. And of course, we gained as much as they did. And speaking of BT, I do want to tell you that she's a really great traveling partner. We may look like the odd couple, especially here we are. We've been to Italy and Croatia, and we're wearing Pakistani clothes. And we had to today because these were a gift. And we left our shawls in the chairs because we just can't figure out how best to use them. But he is a friend that we made last year when we were at the same location in Italy, and we've maintained a close relationship with him, growing closer all the time, I hope. That's our goal. And so he gave these to us as a gift, so we thought we would wear them today. So I figured out that BT has spent 64 days and nights with me, and she's still speaking to me. She has hauled my carry-on luggage through these 12 airports: Wichita, Atlanta, New York City, Chicago, Houston, Zagreb, Croatia, Zurich, Switzerland, Munich, Germany, and in Italy, Milan, Rome, Florence, and Brindisi, some of those multiple times. So I really appreciate BT, especially since most of you know my luggage got lost on the last 2 legs in Europe, not lost, but delayed by 2 or 3 days, and BT even loaned me her deodorant. I'm not sure if that was for my sake or for hers, but we're bonded forever now. So BT is going to take you through our Italian slides, and you'll notice there are not a lot of sightseeing. There's not the beautiful sights that Italy is known for. We didn't load up on those because that was not the purpose of the trip. We didn't go as tourists. Occasionally we got to see a couple of really wonderful things, especially on our stop on the way home in Florence, which I'll tell you about. But we want to introduce to you the people that became so special to us, and that because of your love and support and encouragement, you made an eternal impression upon them and planted a seed of the gospel in their heart. So BT's going to tell you about Italy. Yeah. Go back to the first one. Go back to Jack. Oh, we're like Moses and Aaron. One of us is the brains behind the operation, and the other is the mouthpiece. Okay? Plus, BT's a princess, you know. So, if you missed the first picture, it was of Mr. Heaton and us, because he's our faithful chauffeur to the airport, and always comes and goes and gets us and puts up with our absence. And the Romm Crab Practic Office should be commended for that as well, because they had to give BT up for a month. So I really appreciate how fortunate could she be to have an employer that sees the necessity of what she did. Wonderful.
Thank you, Dad.
Okay.
So I have to have my coffee wherever I go, and she has to have her Coke around like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So
Ready to go.
yeah, she brings me coffee when I'm in bed, and I bring her Coke in the afternoon. So we have a setup. So we were in Lecce, Italy, and that is the south of Italy, close to the sea. That's Pino and his wife. That's the missionary, the local missionary there in Italy. And he's a fantastic, as they would say, pastor. He likes to say, kissy, kissy, bye, bye. So I picked up on that, and he loved it. This is the bed and breakfast that we were staying at, but this is a typical look that you will see in Italy. The gates and the walls all around. This is the room that we were staying at. I took the twin-size bed, and she had the queen. The house is Mina. Her name is Mina, sorry. That's her house. And she is actually an LST reader, and she gives discounts to LST ministry to stay there for a certain length of time. So we get a good discount, or they get a good discount. And this is the front porch that we have breakfast every morning. She is a really good cook, but for breakfast, oh, it's not there yet, hold on. Oh, where is it? Okay, well, this is our first day of our Let's Start Talking day. Before we head out, we took a picture so we can send it to Leslie. And this is one of my readers from last year. Her name is Maria, and Lana had her this year. And she's an attorney. And this is one of the doctor. You want to talk?
He's an attorney also.
He's an attorney. And his wife is a doctor. That's one of my reader, Alexandra, and she owns a bed and breakfast in the city, close to the center. Donatella, that's one of her readers. An attorney. And that's Beva. She was also one of our readers from last year. And Mrs. Heaton had her again this year and last year. And so they built a really wonderful relationship, and they are continue that relationship to this day. That is Mario, and I had him this year, and she had him last year. And he's been very interested about Jesus. He asked a lot of questions, and he said, you know, the way the world is right now is just making him question if there is a God or not. So he's really thinking about it. He's in contact with Pino, so we're hoping that he continues the search and comes to know Jesus. That's one of our readers, Sarah, from last year. She wasn't reading with us this year, but she gave up some of her time and came to have lunch with us, so that was very special. So she just kind of showed us around Lecce again and just took us to one of her favorite restaurants. And that's one of my reader. He's a doctor. He likes to talk a lot. And I don't. And that is Mohammed. And he is one of Mrs. Reader. And there's an interesting story. We built a really interesting relationship. When I was in Croatia, he randomly texted me on Messenger and asked me where I was at and how I was doing, and I thought that was random and weird. That I asked Mrs. Heaton, what do I reply? And she gave me some pointers, and that led to a conversation where I got to share my faith and why I believe in Jesus. And to this day, actually, he keeps in contact with me. He actually, was it Thursday, he asked me if I was okay because I haven't responded to his message. But I keep telling him why I choose to believe Jesus, because he had a very difficult life. He ran away from Afghanistan when he was 11. He was a clandestine for about 15 years, I kind of added up, around there. So he's been to Iran, Turkey, Greece, and now Italy. He's been in Italy for 2 years. He works as a chef in Italy. He's just had a very difficult life, and when he was telling me about his life, I was moved because he's a 20-something-year-old man who was like saying, I'm about to cry because I'm telling you my life story. And the only thing I can do for him is tell him that I can pray to the only God who's able to do anything, and that's Jesus. That's one of my reader, Carmen. I had her last year, and that's her on her birthday that I gave her one of my mother's bags. She really loved it. She says she's not interested in Christ. She came out and told me that last year, but she continues the lesson with LSD. This is her, third, fourth year of doing it? So we're hoping that she continues to come even though she doesn't believe in Christ. And she's going to take over for this.
Oh, Germano. It seems like every year we have a character that's larger than life. And last year it was Beba, the red-headed Bulgarian opera singer from the communist era whose husband bribed the guards to let her out to come to Italy. That was last year. This year it's Germano Tortello. Okay, be impressed with my Italian, okay? Germano is an architect, but when I first met him, I messaged Chuck that night. I said, oh my gosh, I've got Ernest Hemingway as a reading partner. And does that make sense to some of you? Okay, loud and boisterous and BT got beard burn from the kisses on both cheeks, okay? He was so eager to come for English that he kept forgetting that he was 6 o'clock, but he came at 5 o'clock, and BT had a gap, so for a few days she had him first while I had a student, and then he moved over to me at 6 o'clock. Eager, eager, eager. He would hardly even let me talk because he wanted to correct himself and find his own mistakes. But Germano is an architect by trade, but he's a member of an exclusive yacht club there on the coast, and an international sailboat racer, of which I know nothing about. So we are in Croatia the next week or so. I get a text from him. Oh, my teacher. No, actually, to back up, while still in Italy, one night I have a text, oh, my teacher, I love you. And it's because we had shared with our readers this year that if they wanted to continue practicing their English, a great way is to go to BibleGateway.com and listen to the Bible read to them in English. And they can even follow along a parallel visual to get Italian and English side by side. They love that. So he texted me that night to go over the top thanking me. And he said, I put Bible Gateway on my phone in my pocket, and I've now been listening for 5.5 hours without stopping. Only because we happened to think about that. That Bible tool was really, really invaluable to us this year, as well as the YouTube videos, Bible Project. Both of those were really super, super good. So Germano and I are carrying on conversation. We get to Italy one night, I open up, I have a message from Germano, and it's actually a short video clip. He is, it's at night, and I look at it, I can hardly make it out, and something's flashing. So at the Italian church, we hosted a party. Both places we used the sea as a theme because it was a play on words. In Kansas, we have no sea, so we have to bring it with us. So we had crazy sea, like blow-up toys, and you'll see in the next picture, he won the blue dolphin. But he also won a necklace that had pink pineapples hanging off of it that flash in the light. Now, this is Dollar Tree gifts, you know? Okay. So I get the video clip from Germano Totello. He says, I am in the middle of the Adriatic Sea where I've just taken first place out of 110 in the regatta. And I said, hello, my teacher. And so he's wearing, in the dark, behind the wheel of the sailboat with his Italian buddies laughing, this pineapple flashing in the night, hello, my teacher. So, larger than life characters, really, really funny. And he thinks I think he's supposed to come to Colorado like the 27th. And he says he's coming here. So if you hear, or if you go to Walmart and see Ernest Hemingway, it's really Germano Totello. Okay. So, but he was very sensitive to God, and the days that BT had him, the subjects they were on, he was actually tearful. So he is definitely a seed to be praying for. Okay?
This is the dolphin that he won. He was very happy. There's one where he's kissing it.
Yeah.
And this is, like she mentioned, we had to throw a party to bring in our readers to the church members so they can get to know each other. And so there's that, because we're the bridge. So we bring in our readers to the church, and they get connected and get to know each other. And of course, nothing does that like food and drink and wine and beer.
To a church party, and here's wine and beer bottles on there. See the missionary drink.
Pino did. Yeah. I was grateful. And that's Mina, our lady who owns the bed and breakfast. She's the one that's taking a picture. It's really small, as you can tell. It's very narrow. Can you see that cross in that picture? The back, that's their baptistry. And it's really small, and there's no water in it. And if they do get baptized, it's really cold. That's the whole church right there. And we also worship with a YouTube video. This is just us fellowship, talking to each other. There's Germano again. Just more pictures. And this is my coffee buddy. I go there, the coffee shop, at least once a day. We have this mutual affection where he doesn't know English, I don't know Italian, but we like each other. And that's just a picture in Lecce, or, okay. And that's in Lecce, and I just take that because it's beautiful. It's actual Roman colors. Oh, okay, I was gonna say, I don't know. And we were in Siena. That was in Siena.
Just to show the narrow streets.
Okay, and that's our friend Abdullah from last year, and Mrs. Heaton would like to tell you something about him.
Well, I can't hardly talk about Abdullah without crying. He's the guy we introduced you to last year, the one that absolutely by providence came into our lives. He wasn't even one of our readers, but one day we were out looking for someplace for lunch, and we saw a kebab shop. So we went in, and trying to figure out how to order, this guy helped us out with really good English, and then we developed a friendship from there. And so I consider him a son now. But it's not every day. You go to Italy and you meet a Pakistani Muslim boy, that somehow your lives just blend together. It's just the oddest friendship. Only God can be behind it. He is a little bit reluctant to talk, for sure Jesus. He'll talk a little bit of God stuff. And he's definitely a secular Muslim. We were there during Ramadan, and he did not observe the fast and all that stuff. But for this reason, he's the one that BT and I felt compelled to. I actually ordered on Amazon a Quran, and you'll see it on the back table. I really invite you to come and look at it. It's a parallel, so you have English on one side and Arabic. But remember, in Arabic, they read from the back forward. So it really messes with your mind. You have to read on the right-hand side and then go to the left in the column. So we would spend our evenings studying the Quran and I actually told Abdullah this spring that I was going to order a Quran. And I wanted to lay some common ground with him so that when we went and I gave him a New Testament in the Pakistani language with English parallel, that night I think we said, we've been reading your holy book, we hope that you would accept ours. And he did. He took it. Now, I don't know if he went around the corner and threw it in the trash can or not. We've not talked about it since, but I highlighted the Roman road in it, and so my prayer is that he would have a reason to pick that up and that he would see Jesus. And also, as you consider these people in prayer, and the more and more, we've talked about this with the team that just came back from Massachusetts, more and more we will see Muslim people coming for the English no matter where you are in the world, because there's Muslim people, because of the refugee situation, are spreading incredibly. So I would ask that you would pray for both Muhammad and Abdullah with all your heart, that they would see Jesus. We're told to especially pray that Jesus will choose to appear to a Muslim in a dream, because they put a lot of emphasis on the meanings behind dreams. So we ask that you would do that. Okay, so. Oh, well, we were out walking in the old city. We always go each evening with Abdullah. We go to coffee, and we happened upon his two sisters, which are to my right there. It's the first two. His two sisters and his four cousins, really sweet girls. We were the first Americans they had ever met, so they wanted to go back to the kebab shop and talk some more. Very highly educated girls, university level. I think the girl on the far right is a physician, and her husband is a doctor here in the U.S., and she plans to come here as soon as her papers are in order. And yet each one of them, I think two of them are already married, but they all know that they will marry through an arranged marriage. And it's just the way it is. Okay. Oh, the tearful goodbye. Okay, so we wrapped up the 2 weeks in Italy where we'd gone last year, and now we moved on. This year we decided, gosh, for hardly any more effort, you've already made the big trip across the ocean, for hardly any more effort we can go to another location and help out there. So from the heel of the boot of Italy, if you look almost straight up to the orange country of Croatia, you older folks like me would remember that this was known as Yugoslavia before the late 90s, when they had civil war and divided into like 5 or 6 other small countries. So we flew into Zagreb and then went to a smaller town called Varaždin. Okay, this is the missionary Mladen meeting up with us. Actually, that day's when we're going home, but this is the only picture we have of all 3 of us. Okay, the first Sunday we were there, he took us to a restaurant. You see so many people there because some of them are church staff, and all the girls in the back there were 5 Bible college girls there from Abilene Christian and Oklahoma Christian University doing summer internship helping with kids camp. So we were there simultaneously. Croatia was really a breath of fresh air for me. I hope you got the impression from the few pictures we had of Lecce, but in the south, Italy, everything is stone and porcelain and tile and rock, very little green space because it's all about the ocean. So when we got to Croatia and there was green space, it was just really wonderful. We liked it. Something to love about both locations, of course, but this is a restaurant. Many of them are outside. And just a nice, calm residential street. After being around the Italian drivers, this was like I thought, I can cross this street and not be in a fear of my life. And it was wonderful. I threw this in because this is a picture of a home that had been occupied by Jews prior to World War II. And in this area, of course, all the Jews fled or were taken and exterminated. So there are a few homes remaining that were known to be occupied by Jewish families. And there is a synagogue. It, of course, hasn't been used since the late 30s. It's crumbling. And so now there is actually a movement to restore it for like a civic meeting area. And it's quite a place. The reader that probably attached to us so closely is... on the right there is Branka, and she's a physical therapist, and she just really grabbed onto us and took us one Saturday to see a castle. Go ahead. From that castle, you actually can see over into Slovakia. So we did the long around the mountain walk up to the castle. It was really a special day. Just a view there into Slovenia. And a little church in the woods by the castle. And then Branka decided that BT needed to make a wish in the well. So she gave her the money, and they turned and made their wish. And then when BT turned around, she looked down, and there was a 200 kuna, that's a bill, right, laying down in the water. And she said, I'm going to go get it. And I said, I don't think so. Just some more pretty pictures. One of BT's readers, do you remember her name? That we found the names of the folks in Croatia very difficult to pronounce, but she was a sweet girl. And this is Patricia. I told her and she laughed. I said, if you lived in the U.S., we would call you a biker babe because she wore leather and she drove up to the church on a big motorcycle. And this reader was really special because, gosh, bless BT's heart. This was a difficult one because she knew almost no English. So to try to converse in English was a real challenge, and yet she came every day and was really faithful. Okay. And this is actually her. Almost all of our readers took a lot of notes as we're reading. They desperately want to get it right, and they'll take notes and they'll go home and practice, and they'll come back the next day and show you their progress. BT with another one of her readers. She's the one that gave BT the really large book in the back about Croatia, so you're invited to look at that.
Here's a funny story with her. When I first met her and I was introducing myself and my family, she noticed that me and my brother don't really fit in with the rest of my family, right? So I had to explain to her how I was adopted from an orphanage in Ethiopia. And she's like, orphanage? What's orphanage? So I tried to kind of explain what orphanage means, and she's like, she had this blank on her face, and I'm like, okay, I'll get my phone and I will translate it. And I translated, and she read it. She's like, oh yeah, I understand. I got my dog from an orphanage. Okay, not the same, but...
Whatever it takes. Okay. One of my readers, Bianca, I think. Yeah. Okay, I took this picture because this is actually the baptistry in the church in Croatia. I didn't even know what it was sitting from the back looking forward. I didn't realize that it was deep. It's like a well. Okay, next picture. Those are the two little tiny steps you put one foot on to go down in. It's a one-man tub for sure. And it's deep but small. So I think to baptize, you basically, the minister would stand on the outside and you would just kind of plunge under, kneel and come up. But it's for space conservation. Okay, you may wonder, why is there a picture of Salina Heights Christian Church in our Croatian assortment? For the party there, the preacher said, the main thing we want from you girls is for you to show pictures and talk about yourself and your church and your family. And we're like, talk about ourselves? You know, in the United States, that's a little bit presumptuous, okay? But honestly, they wanted to know everything. So we put together a slideshow with pictures of our family, of our town, and then we included these. I messaged Gary that morning at church. I said, I got to have some pictures. You might remember that because, next one. This is the picture he took when he came up to preach. He took the youth over here and you're waving. Okay, the next one. And that one too. You got, if we could zoom in, you could tell that you're actually waving to Lana and BT in Croatia. Okay, they loved these pictures, and for us to be able to, do you remember him taking that picture? Okay, so there it is, proof. And they loved it. The idea, one of our themes in that presentation was that when you are a believer, you are connected, just as Micah said during worship, you're connected with believers all around the world, no matter what language you're singing your worship songs. They love that. Okay, and then from the back, I told Gary, well, I got to have a picture of the preacher. So he's standing back there, and look at Joe Winship doing the photobomb. Okay, I know Gary is going to listen to this presentation, so I have to include this story. When we showed him the picture, the Croatian people said, oh, so that's your preacher? And I said, yeah. They said, he has a beautiful wife. Okay. Okay, why is this picture included in here? This is actually my kitchen. Back at the ranch, while we're in Croatia, Trav, without me knowing before we left, because it all happened so fast, had his big surgery. And the word went out, and Mr. Laws came to the rescue with food. So Chuck had to send me the picture of these 4 large containers of homemade spaghetti sauce and homemade cinnamon rolls. And I actually included this in our slideshow to the Croatians as a demonstration to them as to how the body works. That when we have a need, we just put the word out and people meet it in the way that they are capable in their giftedness to meet it. And they were very touched by that. And so I told Mr. Laws, I said, can you believe you thought you were just bringing food to Chuck and Travis? But actually that gesture has traveled the world and blessed a lot of people. So thanks again, Mr. Laws. And we still have some of that in the freezer for me to use now that I'm home. Okay, this is the clothes dryer for some of you young people that maybe have never seen one of these. The Croatian church made that available to us, okay? And a picture of my Holy Quran, which you can see in the back. I do have to tell you that the Croatian church staff was a little bit taken back when I said one afternoon, well, BT and I are going to go in the library and study our Quran. Oh, what have we gotten ourselves into? You know, thought these were Christian girls, and we definitely are. But okay, I just wanted to show you a few pictures of, on our way home, we stopped in Florence, primarily to see, some of you might remember our Italian exchange student that we had 2 or 3 years ago, Giovanni, and he met us there. We got to spend one day with him, and this is the most famous structure in Florence. It's the world's 4th largest church, Santa Maria di Fiore, finished around 1367, and 70 years later, they put the dome on top. Brunelleschi is the one that created that, and no one can understand how he did it. When he died without having any notes or sketches left behind. It's still a mystery. Using over 4 million bricks, it's the world's largest Mason art dome, and they progressed 1 foot a month. He even had to design the ox-driven pulley that brought the things up to the supplies up to the top. And they say that a certain Leonardo da Vinci was an apprentice on that application of the lantern on the top. Also, another guy that might ring a bell, and these are not the turtles, but Michelangelo. He was in town, and they asked him, well, should we finish that drum on the top with the light? And he looked at it, and he said, looks like a cricket cage to me. So they decided to leave it unfinished. Okay, the bell tower right there is designed by the famous Italian painter Giotto, and it has 463 steps. The steps were built only for use by the construction workers, so they remain narrow and rough for modern tourists, of which our very own BT is one of them. She did it. She wasn't very happy with me that I kind of pushed her into doing that, but okay.
I had to wait an hour just to go in there.
Yeah.
I was not happy.
Yeah.
That's okay.
This is just another view of the beautiful cathedral and church. Of course, there's so many beautiful cathedrals and churches throughout Italy, but they're virtually empty of worshipers. They're almost just for tourism. Beautiful ceiling. I thought, wow, that's a beautiful painting. And then I realized it's all mosaic tile. It's not even painted. And that's the inside of the dome of the baptistry. Okay? And this is the most world-famous, oldest, from the Renaissance era bridge in Florence. And I can't remember the name of it. I meant to look it up. But so many of the bridges had to be destroyed by the Allies in World War II to prevent the Nazi progression. But this is one that survived. And you really expect to see Romeo and Juliet walking across. It's so very old. Okay. Just some more beautiful sites of famous places in Florence. This is actually the interior of a Benedictine monastery. There's the Dominicans, the Franciscan, the so-and-so, and each one of them kind of had their own way of living in close relation with God. Okay, just another example of a narrow street with a house built over the street. And there's Joe. Joe now let his hair grow out. He wears a man bun. And he's wearing a shirt that he had made for him while he was in Zaire a couple months ago on a humanitarian month. Still quite the character. A special treat one day, we drove from Florence to Siena, and I saw a sign that said American Cemetery, and then yet another one. And Joe's mom, who was driving, she said, oh, you want to stop? And I'm like, sure. And it was a really nice treat. We pulled in, and a guy came up to us, spoke fluent Italian and English, and he said, I'm actually the superintendent here. And so he gave us a lot of details on the cemetery that we wouldn't have known otherwise. He was from New York City, a former Navy sailor. 4,600 Americans are buried there. Okay. And this is the wall commemorating the missing in action, mostly bomber groups from World War II. It's a very beautiful place. It meant a lot to us to get to stop and see that. America has like 20 different military cemeteries in 12 different countries around the world. The land was donated by Italy out of their gratitude for our part, but we have an agency that pays for the upkeep. Okay.
I have no idea why that's there.
Well, we got to Houston. We were late leaving Munich because of problems there. So when we got to Houston, we knew we weren't even going to get to leave for like 6 more hours. I know to some people that doesn't sound like much waiting. But I said, BT, let's find a corner, build camp, and then you can lay down. Because BT can sleep anywhere. She puts her headphones on, pulls her hood up, she's gone. So she's getting beauty sleep while I'm laughing at this sign. BT's probably dreaming of coffee while she's sleeping there. Okay.
Actually, there is coffee there. Can you see that mocha? There's coffee there.
Yeah. Okay. We really feel like Let's Start Talking ministry definitely fits in with the Love, Live, Lift ministry of Salina Heights, and it really blessed the people that we went there, that you sent us. I took this picture because I'm remembering that afternoon we're sitting there in the Italian church, and we were pretty tired by that time. And yet, I think we look pretty fresh, don't you? Okay? In fact, I actually had a woman that said, "You look younger than you did last year." And last year I had color on my hair, so I did not get it. But I put it here because that picture to me really represents the happiness and joy that you have when you absolutely know you are serving in God's will. It shows in your countenance. And then the next picture is how we will look if you agree to come with us on LST. Okay? Super happy.
Yes.
Okay, do you want to talk about our future plans?
Sure, I guess. We plan on going on more trips, and we hope that you will come join us. LST would appreciate anyone who would be willing to give up their time to join them and spread the message. And all you have to know is your native language, which is English, which I can't speak apparently. But we really appreciate that you guys put effort, time to pray for us. And when we were there, we will tell our readers that you guys are praying for us, that we are doing this because of you guys gave so much of your time and money, and we need lots of money.
We need
lots of money to go on trips like this. But it's so worth it because we get a lot out of it, but so do you, because you're like my mother said last night. You are there with us. You're part of us. And we would appreciate if you would save up some money so that we can go again next time.
Yep. Mm-hmm. If it sounds self-serving, okay, well, there it is. Okay, we want to go again. But BT and I have talked. We love traveling together. I mean, like we are a partner. You know, we do well. But we're both open to having another partner. BT is drawn to China. And next Monday, I'm going to get to talk to Daryl and Cindy when they're in the U.S. about the possibility of them hosting an LST site. You might remember Bruno from Brazil that has preached here interim. He's planning to host LST. So both of those locations are on the horizon. If you know of a country you have always wanted to go to, we can probably figure out a way for you to go there with LST. It's amazing. Whole families can go. Youth groups can go and spend time doing it as well. So the possibilities are endless. So yes, we are shamelessly trying to recruit for LST. Not just other people, because we really want other people to go, but we would really appreciate your supporting us again. As soon as we have the funding, we will find another place to go. We already have invitations ready for us. So I want to just close with this scripture and hope that the Holy Spirit will impress this upon you. It's the theme of going and sending. After this, the Lord appointed 72 others and sent them 2 by 2 ahead of him to every town and place where he was about to go. He told them, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field."